Take a look at the screen right here, folks. My next guest, someone I really enjoy interviewing, Edward Dowd. Here he is. Hope you'll follow him on X. Find out all about him. He's putting out a lot of great information. So follow him if you want to keep up with what's happening. He joins us now. Ed, thanks for being with us again.
How are you doing today? Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, great to have you on. Thanks for making time for us. We have so much to talk about, so limited time here, but let's get right to it. World War III. I want to talk about World War III. I want to talk about AI, data centers. I want to talk about central bank digital currencies, COVID deaths. And these things really all do fit together, interestingly enough. But let's start with World War III. What are your thoughts on where we're going here? Today, of course, I guess President Trump is going to limit the time response for President Putin to end the war with Ukraine. There is talks of course, obviously giving more weapons to Ukraine from the American side. Seems like the European countries are just itching to go to war. Is all of this because of, particularly for the Europeans, are they in economic distress? That's what some I hear are saying, and they need a war? What's your take on all that?
Well, yeah, so Europe is in an economic problem. Germany's economy has been very poor, even though their stock market has been hitting new highs. It's disconnected from reality. So the German economy, which is basically the EU economy, is in the dumper. They have a demographic problem. They have pensions and an aging population, lots of sovereign debt, and traditionally, when you have a debt problem and a declining demographic problem, you have economic issues, and those in power like to stay in power, and they don't want to get blamed for what's going on in their own country. So war is usually a very easy way to rally the country, actually invigorate the economy somewhat, and keep yourself in power. And you are correct. The European countries seem hell-bent on going all in on this Russian-Ukraine situation. And unfortunately, Ukraine is getting slaughtered in this war. Russia is making slow advances. They're eventually going to take Odessa, which is a port on the Black Sea. And it's gonna continue to get ugly unless peace is negotiated by Trump, which there is a chance for that, but I don't hold out any hope. We got this 12-day announcement, and we'll see what happens. But so we got the problem in the Ukraine-Russian war. Russia is not gonna give up the territory, so any negotiations will include a taking of territories, I suspect, if there is a deal. So we got that problem. We have a Mideast problem. Where Trump did declare the end of the 12-day war, but there continues to be issues there. It's not being well reported, but I think they continue to bomb each other. So we got, and then we have the Chinese-Taiwan situation, and war seems to be a problem. And an economist that I respect, Martin Armstrong, believes war is on the table in the next 12 to 24 months. I hope that can all be avoided, but that's definitely something that's in the background. It's summertime right now. People are not talking about it. People seem to be focused on Epstein and other issues and whatnot. But war is definitely in the background, and it's something I worry about.
Absolutely. So you also have on your website here, on your X account, you're talking about a new report that is out, Housing Crisis Brewing, the new home sales conundrum. This was July 10th. But what do you think is going on here with housing? Now, I'm in the Mid-South, outside of Memphis. We never had an overheated market. Has it come down? Not much. Basically, you were vying with 18 people, 15 people for a home. If you really wanted it, a local realtor said, you better offer $20,000 over asking price. Generally, the math shows whoever offers $20,000 over asking price, that's who's going to get it. So that's cool. Where you had 15 people lined up, now some homes are going weeks without a showing. And who needs to sell? They're just, some of them are even taking a little less or right at what they have to get out. So has the market gone softer here in the Mid-South? Yes, but we were never an overheated market like, say, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., whatever the market might be. So I know that this varies from state to state, city to city. Overall, though, what do you think is going on in the housing market?
So housing there's a conundrum going on there. Housing got overheated, but then we had illegal immigration, which supported a lot of the through rents. Rents put a floor on housing prices. So housing should have rolled over a couple of years ago, but the illegal immigration problem, which Trump is taking care of, has stopped. So there's zero flow at the border. Deportations are not at the levels he promised yet, but that doesn't matter. We're seeing new tenant rents. We're going to put out another update to our new tenant rent report, which showed a big decline. So new tenant rents are declining. These feed into home prices, and we're seeing construction slowing, leading indicators in our housing indicators slowing, and we suspect we're going to get another housing recession sometime in the next 6 to 12 months beginning. And we don't know how deep it's going to be. It could be mild. It could be severe, but there is going to be a housing recession, and it was held up by the illegal immigration, which is going all the wrong way. And you're starting to see it. Everything's slowing. New home sales are rolling over. New tenant rents rolling over. Construction and completions are starting to roll over. So it's a slow process in the housing crisis in 2007, 8, and 9. It started in 2007, didn't really get on anybody's radar screen until 2008. So we're kind of in the 2007 stage where we're seeing the indicators rolling, and the question is how quickly does it unfold, and when do we see the feedback loops into the economy? Because you got to remember, housing is a big part of our economy. It is 20% of the consumption component of the economy, which is 80% of overall GDP, and it's not just housing, it's all the ancillary businesses around it, the real estate brokers, the financial services around it, the insurance, the title, you have it. And that is going to probably, and construction, that's all going to start to manifest itself, we think, soon, and it's going to hit the payroll numbers sometime over the next 12 months. So, this is just a normal cycle. It's an 18-year cycle. The last housing crisis was 18 years ago, and here we are 18 years later.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the end of the world, but to be honest, it's really needed. The millennials can't afford homes. The only thing that can adjust is price, and a nice housing recession will allow a new generation of homeowners that are younger and in a stage of their life where they're going to spend more money to fill the home with furniture and whatnot. So, as bad as it might seem, it's good in a way.
Mm-hmm. For those who maybe though are concerned about the economy, where we're going, that are into hard assets, silver, gold, land, houses, rental property, a hard asset, and a revenue stream, would you be discouraging people who are in the rental business, hard asset rental business, from doing so?
Well, we've been putting out these reports since the beginning of January. A lot of real estate professionals have been buying these reports. And if you're in the real estate business, you don't sell everything, but what you do is you raise cash, you take less risk, and you wait for lower prices. So it's not the end of the world. It's just accumulate some dry powder, wait, and if you're in the real estate business, you'll get some nice deals. If you're over levered, and you're up to your eyeballs in debt, you might have a problem. And I would recommend selling some hard assets if you're over levered. But it depends on your leverage.
Yeah. Well, a lot of our audience is very conservative, and I'm asking because they like hard assets. A lot of folks in my audience, they love land, gold, silver, houses, particularly rental properties, because they're into hard assets, trying to be debt free and have a hedge against what may be coming, which is kind of it seems to be unknown, right? Let's move to AI. We've done a lot of programming here on this, the Winning the Race, America's AI Action Plan. Seems like it's calling for data centers, infrastructure. I guess I'm a little concerned about the power grid. We live outside of the Memphis area, the Mid-South. We have AI here already. About 30 minutes away is what is it, XAI or whatever it is. We now have right over in West Memphis, Google announcing a $10 billion data center. We have a local guy on the city council that said when I asked about the power flickering off and on about a year ago when all this was going on with Elon coming to town, I said, is there any correlation? And he said, well, I don't know. I'm only can tell you what I'm hearing as a city council member that, yeah, is they're trying to get this machine up that is pulling on the grid. And of course, we've had our power go up and down 2 or 3 times on a beautiful sunny day, no wind, and it goes up 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a 2-minute period. I don't know. Maybe it has nothing to do with that, but it's a beautiful sunny day, no wind. It's like, this is weird. And I've been here now going on 21 years. We're seeing those kind of things. Now they're going to bring in a $10 billion data center on the Arkansas side with Google. How concerned are you, Ed, for the infrastructure, the power grid?
Yeah, this is the problem. The power consumption of AI is immense. And I contend that eventually we'll come up with a way to reduce those power requirements. And in China, they already did that with their DeepSeek AI. It requires much less power, computing power. So this is a classic problem where it's going to cost a lot of money to bring AI. And here's the problem, Logan. We don't have any revenue streams really on the other side of this. It reminds me of the broadband build out in the late 90s, early 2000s, where there's a ton of investment in broadband, and all these new companies raised a bunch of capital through junk bonds and private equity and what have you on a dream and a hope, but there was no revenue on the other side, so eventually they collapsed. This seems to me to be the same story. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of building, and the power consumption is so high that it doesn't make it economical because there's no really return on investment eventually. So I think this whole AI bubble is going to burst. And I think we don't need to worry about the power consumption because it will burst. And someone will come up with a way to do this at much cheaper power consumption levels. It just has to happen. There's no way we're going to let the gods of AI suck all our power while old people, freeze to death in the Northeast or suffocate in the South with the AC going down. So we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, I pray we don't. So the whole panic over losing your job to AI is really not a big deal.
Well, this is interesting. So I think AI is it's a large language model. It has a lot of problems. It hallucinates. A lot of businesses are implementing it, but a lot of them are finding that you still need humans. I suspect you'll hear headlines of, we let a lot of people go and replacing them with AI. And it's just, it's going to be a way to justify job cuts in the coming economic slowdown. I think AI long term is very interesting, and there'll be a lot of job displacement, but it's not going to happen overnight. I'm not as frightened of AI as a lot of other people are. I just don't think it's as ready for prime time as people think.
That's a very good point. Well, economically, $37 trillion in debt. Add this, I guess, to over about $200 trillion if you add all our unfunded liabilities, et cetera. I remember in the early 90s reading guys, I don't know if these names mean anything to you, Larry Burkett, The Coming Economic Earthquake, and so many guys writing books about, getting out of debt, debt-free in the early 90s, and other guys were writing books, bankruptcy. I have some of these in my library still. Some of these fellows have passed away. I was having this conversation over the weekend with some folks, and I was saying, I think a lot of these guys back from the early 90s writing these books would be stunned that we're still going. Why do you think that is? Do you think that they never thought the American consumer would have confidence in a system like this? Do you think they thought Congress would never behave in this way? Why do you think the system is still afloat, even though many in the early 90s were talking about, a coming economic earthquake?
I think what a lot of people missed is how long this debt bubble could blow itself. And what a lot of people missed was the offshoring of our companies to China. So that created a nice disinflationary period for a long, long time. And a lot of the jobs in the U.S. turned into service positions. But the middle class has been hammered by this advent of this policy. The standard of living has gone down. The average college graduate is having a hard time finding a job in his field or her field. So they have to get 3 jobs. So this is why we see the rise of populism. So again, this debt bubble that's been blown globally is giving rise to populism. And it's this, we're coming to kind of the end days of this. Again, I don't think it's the U.S. is kind of the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry. We are the reserve currency of the world. And I think, as bad as it gets for us, it'll be way worse globally when this debt bubble does finally burst. So this is amazing to me. Ever since the great financial crisis, we've been trying to figure out how long they could blow it. And it's, 15 years later, here we are, still going. And the beast known as the debt reserve system needs constant credit creation. And COVID was a definite boon to that system. And quite frankly, we think saved it, because in 2019, there was indications that it was going to come apart. And then they magically were able to globally print trillions of dollars and then have the government spend them on the COVID war. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I always worry about war, because war is very inflationary. And there's two ways to get out of the debt problem: you default or you inflate it away. So that's why, when you open this segment on war, that seems to be the go-to playbook for bankers and global governments when they get into trouble on a debt issue.
So basically, something we've been saying here, along with others, is that war checks all the boxes. I mean, you've been doing so much great work on COVID and COVID deaths. And I think last week you went viral with, the conversation about 5,000 people a month dying here in America. I know Dr. Thorpe and a few others thinks it's as high as 17,000 a month. But it seems like eugenics or population control, I don't know if that was deliberate or a side effect. It seems almost deliberate to me. But if you talk about, well, hey, let's decrease some of the population and also deal with our financial crisis, it seems like war checks all the boxes for all of it, doesn't it, Mr. Dowd?
It sure does. And look, the COVID, people need to remember, even though COVID, and I blame the vaccines for a lot of this, obviously. The vaccine seemed to take out mostly old people. Of the 1.2 million people that died between 2021 and 2023, 800,000 were old people. So it definitely seems to be taking care of our Social Security and debt problem. And globally, this is happening as well. So, even though young people are dying, the numbers are bigger in the older populations.
So that almost seemed planned. And I was reading a report from someone the other day. They were making a correlation. He said, look, this is just me pulling figures, but I'm seeing Social Security payments that are they're not going out, which means these people are dead. People dropping off, Obamacare. Why would you give up free health care? Because you're dead. So you put these two numbers together, he's like, we've got a population of people that are dying, and it seems to be the older population, which seems to fit with what you're saying, which seems, again, to solve a crisis. So I don't know where all this is going, but again, war does seem to check all the boxes. What are your thoughts on gold and silver going? I mean, some guys are talking, easily $5,000 gold. Some are saying 10,000 in the next few years. What are your thoughts?
I think long term, again, there'll be ups and downs and movements, and there might be a pullback in gold if there's a giant global margin call, but it'll be temporary and a good buying opportunity. But long term, I have a friend who does a lot of good technical analysis, and he thinks gold will be 10,000 by 2030. And of course, silver will participate in that. I think gold, physical gold. You want physical gold. You don't want the paper, ETFs or futures market gold. You want physical gold. And I think it should be a part of everyone's portfolio. And it's a long-term hold. You don't trade it, you accumulate it, and you just put it away.
About 5 minutes left here with Mr. Dowd. Let me ask you in regard to 2030. World Economic Forum says by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy. Is that baloney now? Is that gone? Or is that a system where you subscribe to everything? You will be renting. You'll be getting your Netflix. You won't own your refrigerator. You'll rent it. Was that a marketing thing? Was that a big boogeyman thing? Or is that something that's still on track? By 2030, a lot of people won't own stuff.
Well, I remember when the World Economic Forum came to the forefront during COVID. I didn't even know who these guys were. And then it was kind of the coming out party, COVID. And then they started making proclamations, you'll own nothing and be happy, you'll eat the bugs, what have you. I think for the most part, that is not going to happen. They'll still try to implement that. There'll be this if we do get a big economic crisis, and it's worse than I think, they'll try to introduce the CBDC, a UBI, Universal Basic Income, and tie it to the CBDC, and then that could be a way to make everybody renters and basically feudal slaves. I don't think that's going to happen. I think enough people are awake, enough people like their own sovereignty, enough people like to own things and have a stake in the American dream. If we do go that way, it's game over. But I do think COVID woke up a lot of people. I think the national populist movements around the globe are great in that they're waking people up to what the real deal has been going on for the last 20, 30 years, which has been a financialization and movement of capital from the U.S. to other countries.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this 35 years, 17 books, hosting radio professionally since 95, TV full-time since 2006, added to it. Conferences we put together, my wife and I, Worldview Weekends in 300 locations in America. I've never seen the people awake like this, ever. Which really begs the question, Mr. Dowd, if President Trump cannot fulfill on some of these things and restore the republic and some liberty and freedom, does America survive as a union, or do we start seeing attempts at secession? Maybe Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama, a few others saying, we're done. We're not going to be the slaves of the federal government system. We're not doing this anymore. Do you see anything that causes that to happen? I know there have been some folks that predicted this 10, 15, 20 years ago from overseas. What are your thoughts?
It's definitely a possibility. The good news is people are waking up, and the people that we've been fighting kind of went too far. They went too far with COVID. They went too far with transhumanism, transsexual surgeries. They went after the children. So the good news is secession, while still a possibility, I think can be pushed back if we get enough people in some of these blue states like California and New York to fight and make sure that we don't go that route. What we need to understand is there's been a whole generation of people brainwashed in the education system that they've been turned into victims. There's a huge swath of our country that's in victimhood, that want free things and believe that everybody other than themselves is their enemy. And that is a problem. And there's nothing quite like economic uncertainty that might wake some of these people up when some of their free programs are cut off.
Before I ask you to promote some of the services or books or websites you want to, let me ask you in regard to the Middle East. I don't know how much you track the Middle East. My guess is you track all these things, so they all are part of the big global picture here. I've been tracking the rise of Babylon. In one of my books that came out in 2016, I talked about Babylon. Now I'm coming at it from a biblical eschatology perspective, where I'm reading the Bible and saying, I believe the Bible, I trust the Bible. I'm going to watch and see what happens. People say, well, New York's Babylon, America's Babylon. I'm saying, well, personally, I believe when the Bible says Jerusalem means Jerusalem, Babylon means Babylon, Rome means Rome. And I'm watching for the rise of Babylon. And some people have pushed back against that. Other scholars are saying, why not? We trust the Bible, proven itself to be true in many ways historically. So I'm watching. And now we see, I don't know if you're tracking this fall port. They're building this massive fall port through Iraq, a roadway as well, doing massive infrastructure there. I mean, it seems like Iraq, Babylon, this whole region is coming to life. We have the United Arab Emirates rising. Dubai comes up out of the sand so quickly. What role do you think the Middle East is going to be playing on the world stage over the next 20 years?
So the Middle East, people need to understand, it's after World War II, a lot of the borders were drawn by us. They're not real countries. They're very tribal, religions of all flavors in the Middle East, with a lot of history and conflict and hatred. And it is a conundrum beyond a conundrum. And when we went into Iraq and said, we're going to turn that into a democracy, that was a joke. It's a tribal land, Sunnis and Shiites, you name it. This is a hotbed of religious beliefs and hatred that goes back centuries. And so it is a focal point and a bubbling cauldron, in my humble opinion.
So you don't see anything big coming out of the Middle East anytime soon?
Not anytime soon, but, look, Syria fell. That's not good. I mean, as much as you might not have liked the leader there, at least he kept some sort of law and order. Now we have basically ISIS in control of Syria.
That's right.
That's a disaster.
Yep.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not saying nothing's going to come out of there soon. I'm saying that it could bubble over at any minute, and there seems to be a vacuum of power. Syria just fell, and that's not good for anybody. We have conflict between Iran and Israel that could go, nuclear at any moment. And this is something that I worry about. I mean, The Middle East is something that a lot of people don't understand, and even our own State Department doesn't understand.
I agree with that. All right, what can we have you promote here? I want to put up your X account at Edward. Excuse me, at Dowd. Edward, at Dowd Edward. What else do you want to tell our audience that you have available for them?
Yeah, so we have a website, financetechnologies.com with a PH. That's where we sell a lot of our economic research. Some reports are expensive, some are less expensive, but we're putting out constant economic research. We have a lot also of free resources. We post free reports every now and then. So I recommend you take a look if you're interested in what's going on with the real economy underneath and some of our predictions. We're using a lot of real data, real leading indicators. Also, I wrote a book, Cause Unknown, The Epidemic of Sudden Death in 21 and 22 and 23. You can find that on Amazon. And we continue to try to get to the truth of what's really going on underneath all the propaganda that we see daily.
Well, you are a very interesting guest. I love reading your reports and information and watching interviews you do with others. And it's an honor to have you here with us again. And I do hope folks will follow you on X. It's at Dowd Edward, folks. At Dowd, D-O-W-D, Edward. Follow him on X. Mr. Dowd, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Logan. Great to be here again.
Mr. Ed Dowd checking in tonight. Follow him on X, at Dowd Edward. There you go. All right, we'll be right back after this break.
We all gave up on mainstream media, and when I say mainstream, I'm talking like Fox News, Newsmax, and the big players on the block, right? If you're like me, you gave up on them a few years ago. So I have been interviewed by a lot of different alternative media outlets. And one in particular, I won't say who it is. It has 3 letters to its name. But I appeared for a couple of years every Wednesday on one of their shows, and then suddenly it got canceled. And it come to find out when I did a little investigating, it was because the host of the show mentioned Jesus too often. And if I told you who this was, you'd probably be shocked, because it's a very conservative alternative media outlet. But this is where Brannon is different. Like Pastor Wood said, he's very unique in the sense that he gets it in terms of what's going on geopolitically, what's going on nationally. He knows all of the issues like the back of his hand, but yet he sees from a biblical worldview how it's going to influence all of our lives, not just today, okay, but a year from now, 2 years from now. Much of what he's been talking about is just now playing out, right? And so you are really ahead of the curve when you're watching his show. I really appreciate him, and I hope you do too, and will show your support to him, because he does give voices a chance. He took a chance on me, okay? And like Dr. Wood, he has greatly expanded my reach.